All right, we're doing more work here on the Bobcat 743. Making this video to show everyone out there that may be up against this issue. This is a video showing the rear shaft seal replacement of the main hydrostatic hydraulic pump unit in a Bobcat 743. I recently bought this machine, having some other known hydraulic leaks, knew nothing about this issue, but once I fixed everything else, realized the issue that was going on. I believe prior, this universal joint on the back of the engine, I think probably had failed or something catastrophic happened that caused this output shaft to actually bend. I put a dial indicator on it and I had about 40 thousandths of run in the shaft, and that's why it was leaking out of the seal. I first just replaced the seal and it didn't fix it, and that's when I realized I actually had a bent shaft, unfortunately. So I've already pulled it apart. You'll see right now, normally the shaft's right here with the spline adapter, but I just want to make this video. I didn't see any others online, so I wanted to make this to help someone else in the future if they're possibly having this issue. So I was able to undo the bolts and remove this bracket, hold it up out of the way, and then I was able to take off these mounting bolts on the flange and split this hydraulic unit and get the tail housing off, which is all I needed for this shaft change. Everything else I was able to leave in the machine. So I'll show you what it took to get this shaft out. Over here, this is the tail housing itself. This is where the seal would normally be, right in here, and the shaft of course comes right through that. So when I pulled this off the machine just like this, after undoing those mounting bolts, I was a little concerned at first, but ended up being okay. In between there is the main hydraulic pump, and it did separate in half. However, I was able to just line the individual pump cylinders back up, slide into the housing. Just make sure there's three down inside of here. There's three little like needle bearings that hold up this end, and I was missing one. I was able to find it though and get it back together the way it is supposed to be. So that wasn't too big of an issue. And then, so to get this shaft out, this is the shaft itself. This is where it was, this is out here is where it was bent. And so there is this yoke right here. Sorry, I have everything bagged up already. Just trying to keep all the parts clean. This yoke is inside of this housing, and I had on each end here, there's caps. These are the caps that go on the side of this housing, and I had to pull each cap off and then pull the bearings and the races off, which are in these bags here, that go on the ends of this yoke assembly to be able to get the yoke out, which then I was able to get this shaft out. One of the hardest parts of it, honestly, I wasn't too bad of a job. On this end, there's a keyway that was giving me a hard time getting out. And also, I had this end piece, which is one of the drives. That's the keyway right there, you can kind of see. But this was I believe a tapered fit. I had to use a decent 2-jaw puller to get that off the end of the yoke. But that wasn't too bad. You got to use a puller really though. Just 2 pry bars wasn't cutting it. So yeah, I started cleaning stuff up a little bit, and I'm gonna have to make a parts list up and get a lot of parts on order. As of now, I plan on replacing this shaft, of course. This shaft is bent at the end, and I plan on replacing all the bearings. They're all tapered roller bearings, and also then replacing all the seals and giving everything a good clean, and then reinstalling. And then I that rear seal should be working no problem. How I discovered this was, here's the back fan housing. It's upside down right now, but there was oil pooling in there, and then the back of the engine was, the fan was slinging it up. At first I thought I had an oil cooler leaking, but it ended up being way more severe than that. So I will show you guys again progress on reinstallation. Hey everyone, we're back here working on the shaft replacement on this Bobcat 743. I got all the parts ordered and got all the new parts in and started reassembly. I wanted to show you guys where I'm at and what I've learned along the way. So here's the tail shaft section like I showed you guys before. I got it pretty much all back together, new bearings, new shaft, cleaned everything up, and there's a few tricks that I want to show you if you guys are doing this. So I initially assembled, this is your hydraulic pump here, and I assembled that on the new shaft, and I put pieces of cardboard on both sides and zip tied it together to try and hold it all together, because that's, I would say, the hardest part about getting this back together. There is 3 like needle bearings inside that are captive with the shaft, so you have to have the shaft there to hold them in place. However, I was unsuccessful on my first attempt of how to do this. Like I said, this is my first time, and with getting the yoke in and the bearings set and everything, it just somehow separated a little too far, and it came apart. So I had to pull this hydraulic pump, this part here, back off the shaft and come up with a new way and a new idea to get this on. This is the old shaft here. As you can see, that's what just the shaft and the bearing looks like. And this pump rides right in this toothed area, splined area. So what I did to assemble this onto the shaft, as you see, this is a trick that worked the best for me. I actually got it the first time, and I'll get this light here and show you guys. So I just took some copper pipe that I had around. These are, I believe, a 3/4 inch union, and this fits inside really well, but yet still goes over the shaft, as you can see. Unfortunately, it doesn't go over the next step, but that's enough that you need. Now, you do need 2 of them. So I put 2 on, then I use this other piece also to back it up, and it'll slide in there. Like so. Anyway, so what I did is I had this pump assembled together, sitting upright, and then I dropped the one copper pipe in, the other copper pipe in, and then I took the whole part, turned it so it was, the shaft was vertical, and I just slid it down in. These copper pipes kept the little needle bearings in place, and it's lined right up with all the splines. It worked perfect. Got it on the first try. My other tip would be is I needed this shaft to stay seated kind of like on the bearing. So what I did is I took a piece of cardboard to kind of make up this gap that's in there, and then I put, just hand tight, I put that spline adapter on that has the bolt on the inside there, and I used that to keep the shaft stationary and keep some preload on that bearing, so that this was nice and solid for me to get this pump on. So it looks real good. Got it cleaned up. Got a new case half gasket. There's the old one, there's the new one. And next step will be to slide it on in. and I will show you the progress after that. Alright, so the Bobcat is out of the garage, all back together, and everything seems to be working real good on it. That project was a success. Got no leaks, no issues. Replaced a bunch of other things along the way. One of the things I replaced was the lowest hard line that goes between the engine and the transmission. It's for the aux hydraulics, and they get pretty corroded because they lay in all this gunk and moisture and everything their whole life. So clean it out good, inspect your lines also while you're in there. I had a local hydraulics shop make up the steel line for me. It only cost me like 45 bucks, so that worked out well. And put a new muffler on it, some other seals and O-rings that I saw were leaking while I was doing it, all new fluids throughout. And yeah, I'm gonna be using it on some future projects, and think all's well, hopefully. Don't see any leaks. Everything's been working fine. Flywheel's dry, unlike before. The flywheel and everything else was all wet. It's all dry. Good to go. So this wraps up this project. Hope I helped someone else out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you guys again sometime soon working on something else. See ya.